Kevin at Tree of Life Nursery with another virtual workshop here on our YouTube channel. As many of you all remember, during the summer, we like to fire up the grill and do a customer appreciation barbecue. However, with the way things are right now with COVID, we decided instead to put together a virtual cookbook with recipes that we like to use with native plants. So we present it here for you all and encourage you all to cook with us today. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy.
My name's Katie Newman, and I am going to be teaching you guys how to make a couple cocktails today using some of our favorite California native plants. And the first native plant that we're going to be working with today is Rustic, also known as lemonade berry. This is one of the hardiest plants that we grow here at Tree of Life Nursery. This one behind me is kind of wild grown here on the property at Tree of Life, but it can be pruned into a really nice head. You can make it into an arbor. It basically just takes pruning really well, and it's one of my favorite plants. And the other benefit is, like the common name says or implies, lemonade berry. So these red drupes that you see on the plant are actually the flower, and the flower becomes the seed around the month of May, and then they'll stay on the plant until about July. So we're in July right now. These seeds are super ripe, super ready for picking. They have this really nice waxy coating on the outside, which is what we're gonna use to make our lemonade berry juice, which we'll use in 2 different cocktails today. So super easy to pick as well. Don't handle this plant if you have an allergy to mango or cashew because it's in the same family. But basically, you just grab the drupes from the end and plop them in your container. I recommend a glass container because they do have that sticky coating on the outside. Oh, it's just so easy to collect. It's like one of the best native plants. And if you want, you can just stick one in your mouth while you're collecting, and it tastes kind of like an airhead. It's pretty fun. All right, so now that we have all of our lemonade berry seeds collected, we're going to start separating the seeds from any twigs or leaves that might have gotten caught up on our bundles as we were collecting them. So the easiest way for me to do this, I'm sure there's better ways out there. We'll have to ask our friend Abe how he does it. I just put them on a cutting board and start separating it out and just grabbing the big twigs that I might find in there. Obviously leaves, you don't want to be too particular though, because what we're trying to get from the seeds is that waxy outer coating. So the more you handle the seeds, the less like nice sour juice you're going to have in your water. So less handling is better. If there's a little bit of dirt or a little bit of twigs in there, it's okay. Dirt don't hurt. We're going to survive. And this is very good for us anyways. So our immune systems will be very happy with us. All right, so you see I've got some nice little twigs that I'm collecting out. Toss those. Obviously, if you're doing this in your kitchen, you're not going to want to do that. But here at Redwood Camp, there are no rules. Don't tell Mike I said that. All right, so now that I have all of the twigs and random leaves kind of picked out of here, I'm gonna put them in a glass jar with a sealable lid so that I can soak them in the water overnight. You can soak them for 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever you think is necessary to get that nice tangy taste in your water. So I have about a cup of seeds here, and I'm gonna put them in this container with 2 cups of water. I like to do a 2-to-1 ratio. Ooh, I missed a nice leaf there. Don't worry about it, don't worry about it. All right, so get those in there. Don't let the canyon flies fly into your eyeballs while you're doing this. Very important. Already happened to me once today. It's not fun. Don't recommend. Keep them away. All right, so that is in the jar. Get my surgical gloves off of here. So the reason I wear gloves when I'm handling lemonade berry is because I do have a slight skin sensitivity to it. So I recommend if you're sensitive to cashews or mango, definitely wear gloves or stay away from this. I'm not allergic to eating cashews or mango. They just kind of irritate my skin a little bit. But if you're highly allergic to either of those, it's in the same family, so stay away, don't use this. So I'm gonna add my cup of water, 2 cups of water to this. Ooh. Wee. Oh, it's so beautiful. So pretty. Close that up. No canyon flies getting in there. Close this bad boy up. And we're just gonna give it a nice little shaky shake. And then you can put that in the fridge for 24 to 48 hours and let it soak. So I have one that I made about 24 hours ago. Now this I did 2 cups of lemonade berry seeds and 4 cups of water. It's been soaking for 24 hours. You can see it already has that really nice lemonade color to it. And you might see there's like a gray film on the lemonade berry after it soaks for a little bit. That's totally normal, it's totally fine. Like we said, dirt don't hurt, it's normal. Don't be scared. Just be scared of canyon flies. So now that we have soaked these for 48 hours or 24 hours, we're gonna strain them. Oh yeah, that's a lot of good juice. And I'm gonna save my seeds because here at Tree of Life Nursery, nothing goes to waste. And we can still use these to, produce more Rus integrifolia for sale for you lovely people so you can grow it in your yard and then make your own lemonade berry, hopefully. All right, so kind of shaking that out, shaking that out. Okay, that's looking good. And we're still gonna have a little bit of like dust particles. I collected this here at Tree of Life Nursery, as you saw. So especially if I was collecting like near the road, might be some dust and dirt on there and any other film. I just wanna get out any other impurities that might be in there. Again, dirt don't hurt, but we don't want it to be chunky. So I put it in my French press because I'm fancy and I have a French press. But you can also use cheesecloth or just like a more fine tooth sieve like that. I don't know if that's the right word, but we're going with it. That's what we're going with. All right, and you just want to kind of slowly put that through so any of the bad stuff stays at the bottom. See that pretty color? It's so nice. I just love it. And it tastes really good. So I'm gonna put this in here for now because we're gonna use this to make 2 more drinks today. But now you can drink this as is. It has tons of really great benefits. This is an indigenous California recipe. I recommend going to some of these resources. So this one right here, the Ethnobotany Project, this has tons of really great information in it, not just for food and medicine, but also basketry. And then our good friend Abe Sanchez is also part of this book, Cooking the Native Way. There's tons of really fun recipes in here. Obviously you met Abe earlier in the video, so let's see, can we find Abe in here? Get away from me, canyon fly, you're not welcome. There he is. Isn't he cute? All right, so I'm gonna save this over here because I might need to use that again. Save this over here. And we're gonna get to making our first drink. So this one's called the Rustic Whiskey Sour. And we call it the Rustic Whiskey Sour because we're using Rus integrifolia. Clever. All right, so now that we have our lemonade berry juice, we're gonna do 2 shots of that in our little mixer. Thank you to our foreman Ramiro for bringing me his little shaker glass today, because believe it or not, I do not own one yet. I know, blasphemy, blasphemy. So we're doing 2 ounces basically in here of the lemonade berry juice. And then we're gonna do 2 ounces of Kentucky straight bourbon. So technically we'll call it the Rustic bourbon sour, I guess, for being, you know, really on it. So I've got 2 shots of that in here now. Do, do, do. Oh my gosh, it smells so good, you guys. It's breakfast time though, so I'm gonna have to wait. My ice has melted, so I'm gonna get some more ice and then we'll be back. Okay, so we have 2 ounces of the lemonade berry juice in here, and I did 2 ounces of my Kentucky straight bourbon. You can use whiskey too, I just prefer bourbon, so we'll call it a rustic bourbon sour instead of a whiskey sour, apparently, you know, for being real fancy here today. So I've got that in there, and you can finish this off with a little dash of orange bitters if you want to make it really special, but it's not totally necessary. If you like your drinks a little bit sweeter, you can also do I would maybe only do like a ½ ounce of simple syrup. So if you don't have simple syrup, you can make it at home. It's just 1 part water to 1 part sugar, and then you dissolve it over the stove. I don't like my drink super syrupy and like sweet, so I'm not gonna add that in there. And then I have some ice here. Put that in there. Thank you to Ramo for bringing his shaker for me today. Much appreciated. Later on today, we're gonna be making margaritas with the lemonade berry juice, and there's no one here at Tree of Life that deserves a margarita more than Ramiro, our foreman. So we're gonna wait till 3:30 when he can enjoy them with us. So just give that a good shake. There's better ways to do this, I'm sure, but you know what? We're not mixologists here. We're just lushes. So there you go. Make it your own way. Enjoy it. Have fun. All right, let's see if that's good enough. Now that we've given it a good shake, it's time to serve up our drinks. 1 for me and 1 for Kevin. Kevin, do you want 1 maraschino cherry or 2?
I ain't greedy. Let's do 1.
Okay. Kevin's not as big of a lush as me, so that's why he gets less. All right, got our maraschino cherries here. Our nice little spork. I'm telling you guys, it doesn't get fancier than this. And 1 for Kevy. All right, and there you have a rustic bourbon sour. Enjoy. Salud. Tastes like California. Yep, it's California right there. Hello again. So now we're going to make our second drink using the lemonade berry juice that we made earlier. And this one is called the Verdugo Canyon Margarita. And it's delicious. You don't need any sweet and sour because we're gonna make our own using California native plants. So we have some lime juice. Those are non-natives, obviously. We have some triple sec, we have tequila. The most important is we have our previously collected and shucked, I guess is the word, tunas or prickly pear fruit. So You probably heard Abe talking earlier about how to prepare and collect cactus and how to be safe doing that. Or if you're like me, you just find a friend like Mike Evans who will do all the hard work for you. So these were collected last year and put in the freezer by Mike, and he's gracious enough to let me use them. These are the red variety of the tunas. So I'm gonna collect these first, and I'm just gonna put probably 4 of them in here. Yeah, about 4 large tunas. These are so beautiful, and I did wash my hands. Look at that nice fruit. Oh yeah, that is good stuff right there. So these are really sweet. If you've never had them before, they're kind of like a mix between a pear and a watermelon. That's like the consensus, everyone agrees with that. So these ones are a little bit small, so I'm gonna put probably 5 in here. But if you have large ones, I would say like 4 large ones. There we go. Oh yeah, that is so nice. All right, so we've got our 5 smaller-ish tunas in the blender. And the next ingredient is going to be our other California native highlight of the day, our lemonade berry, or Rus integrifolia. So typically, if you just wanted to make a non-alcoholic beverage, you would just blend the tunas with 1 cup of water. But we're making a sweet and sour right now, so I'm gonna do 1 cup of lemonade berry in there instead of the water. Oh, it's gonna be so good. All right, and then you just blend that until smooth. Doesn't require much. And then we're gonna wanna grate this because there are large seeds within the tunas. So strain that. Oh my God, it's so pretty. Look at that color. Yes, get it. All right. I love making a mess, especially in Mike's camp. Just really makes me happy. I don't know what it is. Okay. Woo! I'm gonna get all that good juice in there. And Mike tells me that his wife Hilda actually crushes the seeds, and I think she uses a mano and a metate to crush the seeds and put that in his juice with the prickly pear, because the seeds have a lot of nutritional value as well. I'm not gonna do that today. It's too hot for all that physical labor, but Hilda's a saint, so we all love her. Okay, so now I've got my wonderful prickly pear and lemonade berry mixture. If you want to see how gorgeous the color is, I'll put it in here. We're gonna mix our drinks now. So I'm just doing this on the rocks. If you have some salt, that would be a really great addition. If you like your drink sweeter, you can do some agave syrup. Obviously, that's more appropriate for drinking with California native plants. Or simple syrup is fine too. Like I said, I don't like mine super sweet, and honestly, the tunas are super sweet on their own, and same with the lemonade berry, so it's not really needed. And we're gonna get started with about 2 ounces of our tequila. I use a Reposado. It's just a little bit lighter and blends better with the flavors of the prickly pear and the lemonade berry. The canyon flies were leaving me alone for like an hour today, and it was such a nice respite. Alrighty, got that. And then we're gonna do 2 ounces of the lemonade berry prickly pear mixture. Oh, it's so pretty. Look at that. Yes. Oh my God, it's so pretty. Okay, and then we're gonna do, oh yeah, and the triple sec is pretty sweet too. So if you're using triple sec, you really don't need to add any agave syrup or simple syrup. We're just gonna do 1 ounce of this. And then 1 ounce of fresh squeezed lime juice. Get out of here. Okay, look at that color. Is that not the prettiest thing you've ever seen? I mean, if sunset margarita wasn't already taken, this would be the sunset margarita. Alrighty, now I need some ice to top her off. Oh yeah. I'm so excited. And that's the Verdugo Canyon Margarita. I hope you enjoy. Yeah, that's really good.
Good morning. Here we are at the time of the summer solstice, the year of our Lord 2020, and we are live in front of the camera. We have Kevin Allison as the all things technical, including the camera, and I'm very privileged to be here with my dear friend Abe Sanchez, of much fame in all regards to things that are indigenous. He's a master basket weaver in the California basket style, and he's connected with indigenous tribes and peoples throughout the West, especially the Southwest, including many parts of Mexico. So Abe, welcome. Thanks for being here with us.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to hear more from him directly, but just as a brief introduction, tell us the name of your famous cookbook.
Well, there's a collective of us. There's 10 of us, and it's the Chia Cafe Collective.
Chia Cafe Collective.
And we got our book, and we're going to demonstrate one of our recipes there on how to use the nopal cactus in there. We're going to make a nopal cactus salad.
So what's the gist of this cookbook? I mean, do you have fancy French pastry recipes in there? What's the whole idea of the Chia Collective?
The intention of that is to reintroduce some of these native foods to native people again, and whoever is interested in them. A lot of our importance is about, the etiquette on gathering these foods from nature, and not to overgather, as well as some foods that are abundant, like for example nopal that we'll talk about, being a very sustainable, healthy food source, easy to grow in California, and again, one of these foods I feel of the future being the nopal cactus.
Okay, so it's native foods. Here's Dakota the nursery dog. We can't forget him. Now, nopal. You say the word nopal. That's a very, very old word. Undoubtedly, that's of Indian origin, the native peoples of southern Mexico, nopal. And nopales, then, is the plural of nopal. And this is a nopal, right? And in the world of prickly pear cactus, which this is one, this is the prickly pear, which is the fruit, also called tuna, right?
Exactly.
So the plural of this is tunas. And let's think of a neighborhood in Los Angeles called Las Tunas.
Las Tunas.
It's named after this fruit, not the chicken of the sea. And these are the edible pads of the cactus. That is the tender, shiny green new growth of the Opuntia cactus. The genus for this plant is Opuntia, and there are numerous species. The native species tend to grow in Southern California, low to the ground and with very vicious thorns, lots of thorns, right? Are those nopales edible?
Yes, they are, and that's what we want to cover. Is in the springtime when they have the new growth for the native species. That's when you want to gather it now. Later in the year, the spines are too big, and you're going to get your glochids in your fingers. But again, this is why you want to get that one early in the spring.
Okay, so the glochids. What are the glochids?
The little thorns.
The little
All
thorns.
the little guys.
So you got your big thorns, which are still little, but they're visible. And then you got your little thorns, which are like fiberglass when you get them in you.
Yeah.
It's really something to not look for.
Yeah.
You want to avoid getting the glochids in your skin.
And what we want to teach here in the video is that we want to make this food approachable to people, and we want to know and identify that and what you can do to avoid that possibility.
I've peeled a lot of tunas in my day, and I've cut a lot of nopales and made them ready for food. And you get a little technique going, and you get a few thorns in you, and you get them out, and life goes on. So don't be afraid of the thorns, spines, or glochids on Opuntia cactus. Now this is not a native species. This is a hybrid. And throughout time, over millennia, people throughout the different cultures, the indigenous cultures in the New World, mainly from mostly Mexico. You don't see this as a food plant in Guatemala and El Salvador, Central America, and certainly not South America. Though it grows there, it was really more of an Aztec thing, wasn't it? Started with the Aztecs and the people all around central Mexico. And into southern Mexico as well, Oaxaca. So this is more of a Mexican phenomena, but over time, over millennia, the selections, it's natural plant breeding and choosing out of many, many different choices, selections, to come up with the most delicious, that is the tender, delectable, juicy nopal with fewer spines. And the same is true with the tunas. Much breeding has gone on. Even Luther Burbank in Northern California, Santa Rosa, in his day was way ahead of everybody's time, trying to prove that prickly pear was a viable commercial product in the agricultural world of California over a century ago, because it is. These require very little water, they're a cactus, and they're super appropriate and super healthy. Tell us about the health benefits of nopales.
Well, like you said, and a sustainable food source. You know, this does, like you said, doesn't have to be watered, easy to grow, and everything's it's high fiber. For diabetics, it helps people neutralize your blood sugar because it keeps you full longer. The mucilaginous is excellent source of food that we need to eat, because we don't eat too much of that because we eat too much processed foods. So this is one way to get it, and we'll talk about that a little in the cooking. But again, people have come to me and actually have said that they've used this for weight loss. And what it does, it just keeps you full. When you eat it, it neutralizes your blood sugar, so you don't spike up and down on your hunger, so you stay full longer.
So it's a super healthy food. Now we're talking about the
pad.
The tuna is also very, very delicious. And stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, because come late summer, when these tunas are bright red and bright yellow in their season, we're going to do a workshop on how to get the skin off of those and have this wonderful, almost brilliant colored fruit en masse, which you can do refreshing drinks, you can make jellies, you can
or eat them like that fresh.
Or eat them just fresh. Okay, so we'll come back and do another workshop on las tunas, the prickly pear, but today we're doing the edible pad cactus, los nopales. So this selection came off of the Rancho Mission Viejo near an old homestead. And I'm quite convinced that this came from Jalisco, Mexico. And I believe that it is a very old strain that was carried up either in the cowboy days of early California ranching period or slightly later. But I think that this was brought into this particular region of San Juan Capistrano intentionally, because this happens to be a very good strain of Opuntia ficus indica. That's the true species. The botanical name of this plant is Opuntia ficus indica, which means Opuntia being the genus, and the species has a little dash in there. Ficus means fig, and indica means Indian. So the Latin for this species epithet is Opuntia Indian fig. So early on, it was known to be a edible fruit, not a fig, but that's what they called it.
And Mike, we want to also make clear that this is a spring food.
Yes.
So this is we're in the season right now when you harvest the new pad.
Very, very important. Actually, great point, because just in time for this video, they still have fresh, tender pads, but you should have seen it in April and May. They were just full. We were cutting hundreds off at a time, and you get really good at peeling them. I'll show that in a demonstration in a minute. But there's a few left behind. Now, some of the plants are so tall that you really can't reach those. So this little planting, this little orchard, if you will, needs maintenance. I need to come in here and trim off all these tops so that the edible pads will be produced at a place where you can reach them. Because Abe mentioned earlier the spines and the glochids. I don't worry about them in my hands so much when I'm harvesting nopal, because I buy gloves, try to get the inexpensive ones, $2, because if they get spines and glochids in them, you can just throw them away.
And I like these glove ones.
And he
I
likes
like
the
yellow.
The rubber
Dishwashing
ones.
list.
Yeah,
Dishwashing
okay.
gloves.
So everybody's got their preference. But I worry about the spines and the glochids in my belly, because when I'm reaching like this for a nopal, my hands are in gloves, but inadvertently I'll just brush up against a pad with lots of spine, and they'll stick in my shirt, and then pretty soon, you know, there's itches. So you've got to also have a little bit of gymnastic dexterity to pick nopales off of a large plant. Okay?
And this is why it's important to cover this, because this, to gather this fruit and people, you know, avoid that barrier. Because we want people, this is a sustainable food source, and we want people to eat this. We want people to know about this. And those are little things that'll kind of turn people off, where they're not going to want to get it because they don't want to get the glochids in it. So this is why we're covering this for more important information to me.
Well, worse things could happen to you. You can brush the glochids out of you. If they stay in for very long, your body will expel them by way of a little red spot. It's not the worst thing in the world. Okay, so we can deal with a little bit of, look at there, he must have a spine in his ear. All right, so what I do when I harvest or gather, and everybody has their own way, I'm sure, is that I just take a tin of some sort, because I'm actually use it as a target, and a knife, and I proceed out into the planting and reach over and just slice off the nopal and let it land into this tin. So can he just hold this for a minute? Okay. So let me get around over here.
And I like to use a paper bag, because if any of the glochids get stuck on it, I'm able to just take the cactus out, and then I can just throw the paper bag away later.
If Mike starts speaking, you're going to have to.
Okay.
This is actually too small. It's a delicacy, but from a practical point of view, you'd like to get it larger than this, because you want to get a little bit more pad for your punch.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm pretty picky. That one is definitely edible, and you could definitely find things like this for sale at the Mexican market down the street, at the street corner. I like them to have a shiny surface, making them just slightly younger than that one right there. But that is, as Abe said, that's ready to pick. Yeah. So let's get that one.
Because they go pretty fast. I mean, they can go within days of difference. So you want to just not to avoid something like that. Now, in the peeling process too, when you got ones kind of curvy like that, whatever, those can be a little more challenging in peeling as well.
Yeah, I would avoid that one, because, like you say, that's not going to peel very easily. So we're enjoying ourselves here. Let me show you how you can end up with a few little spines in your front. See right here? That'll get you every time.
And sometimes a nice pair of big tongs like this can also help to gather it as well, where you can reach out further.
So because it was growing in the shade, that one's still shiny and bright green and quite large. And you can see the spines are just starting to develop. but for the most part, it just has the little sheath that protects the spine. That's a characteristic of the selection process on this particular strain, where it's almost spineless at this stage. And that is very, very helpful when you go to peel them and get them ready for cooking. Okay, what do you think, Abe? Is this enough for today?
I think it's
right
enough
now?
for today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike, you need the mic.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to go back over to the table and we're going to talk about how to prepare the prickly pear pad, the edible pad cactus, Opuntia ficus indica, los nopales.
And this is a species here sold at the nursery. This is the native species. And remember that this is also edible as well. All cactus are edible. And if you see the new growth here, this is the one you want to get, of course, when the plants are bigger. But this one, the disadvantage is that it does have a lot of the glochids and spines, can be really big and large. But if you get them tender and young, that's when you want to get the native species, when it's going to have less sharp glochids on it.
So this one is called Opuntia littoralis, and I think what you meant to say is all Opuntia are edible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously the wild species are a lot more heavily armed than the selected cultivars that have been brought to us by selection over centuries and millennia of people choosing plants that had fewer and fewer spines and better flavor. Just the same, you're saying that the wild coastal prickly pear and other wild prickly pears have edible pads.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So let's talk about how to get them ready for cooking or consumption at all. So I do it my own way, and I'm sure everybody else does too. But one of the beautiful things about peeling, as we say, pelando nopales, or trimming and cutting the nopal, is that it can be a very, very lonely activity. You just sit there and just one after another, and I've done 50 or 60 at a time, and a couple hours later, you know, you're sitting there and you're still doing this. But like so many real foods, and certainly including indigenous foods, isn't it true that preparation is best when it's a community event?
By all means, yeah.
So how does that work? Tell me what kind of things happen when you need to hand process something ready for eating, and it requires time and a little bit of dexterity and just mostly a little effort by hand. Why is it better to do that with 3 or 4 people sitting around together?
Well, the best part, because you're going to get people to get this process done faster, but it's a good time to talk about family, good time to reunite, good, hash out problems or benefits, or talk about what good things that happen and stuff, whatever. It's a good time to socialize and just develop that relationship with your family or friends, whatever it might be. Something that we're lacking in society today.
Okay, so a big part of eating good food, real food, natural food, is the preparation. And a big part of the preparation is the community that you can build when you're doing these things. Think about farmstead America, when people were husking corn, shucking the corn, or they were getting potatoes, a whole crop ready for storage.
Native people cracking acorns.
Native people mashing up acorns or opening walnuts.
Yeah.
Every society has had this, and in our modern times, we've lost it, and we need to bring it back because it's super important. If you have harvested pinto beans, the dried bean, and you have threshed beans on the table, they've been windrowed and they've been scooped up, and you bring them in bags and you put them on the table. Abe, you have this big pile of beans. What else is in those beans?
You got little pebbles and rocks you want to pull out.
Okay, and how big are those pebbles and rocks?
They can be the size of the bean.
They're the size of the bean,
yeah.
okay? So how fun would that be to bite into one of those?
Yeah.
That would not be fun. So how do you get those pebbles and rocks out of the beans?
You got to sort them out, and you got to fish them out.
So visually you have this beans all laid out on the table, and you start just tossing off. That sounds like it's an incredibly boring thing to do. But if you have 2 or 3 people doing it, including kids and grandma and everybody, it goes fast, and you're talking about other stuff, and pretty soon the beans have no rocks in them.
Yeah.
And then mom can serve them safely, that you won't crack a tooth just because somebody left a rock in the beans. Okay, so that's just a little plug for community, in building community, especially when we are dealing with this idea of processing our food. Could I have the glove, please? All right, so the way I do this, again, is my way, and I'm sure that everybody has their own way that does it, and I know that there are people more expert in this task than I am, but since I sort of invented my own way, I'm happy to share it. So what I do is I wear one glove, and I have a sharp knife, and I have a bucket down here where I can sweep the debris, and I have a little water here in a container, and I just cut the edge off. Do you do that too, Abe?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So you cut the edge off because it's just faster than peeling, and they have little thorns on the side, so that goes in there like that. Now, with your knife, you just go along and take off those.
Shave them off.
It's just a little shave. That's why it's good to have a sharp knife and a large knife, large enough for this. A little pocket knife will work, but not as efficiently. And like this, and like this, and you just shave those babies off. Make sure you get them all, and press hard when you got these little concave jobs. You can take out like that. A real connoisseur in Nopal would probably scold me for missing that much flesh.
All that meat you lost out?
Yeah, all that flesh, all that meat I lost there, and I stick it in the water. Now, do you do that with water or do you not?
I don't put them in water, Mike, because I'd like to keep them dry, and then later, so that way the mucilaginous doesn't come out.
Okay, very good. That's a good point. So we're going to change our ways here, but you do eventually wash.
I eventually wash them when I'm ready to cook
You
them.
don't want to put them in the water now.
I don't put them in the water.
You used the word a couple times this morning, mucilaginous. What are you talking about when you say
Well,
that?
the mucilaginous, and I'll show that when I do the recipe. It's a process that comes. It's a ingredient or in the plant. And in our experience in trying to get people in nopales, it's one of the things that people have been very reluctant to eat nopales for that reason. It's like you might have had okra. It's a little slimy stuff that comes about. So again, that is something that we're not eating in our diet today because we eat too much processed food. It's something that we lack, and it's something that cactus are loaded with, and your stomach is just dying to have some of this substance in your body.
So let's talk about mucilaginous goo here for a minute. What is it called in Spanish?
Babas.
La baba.
La baba.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, la baba.
And something that is very slimy, what's that called? Baboso.
Baboso.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's about the consistency of, I was going to say snot. Oh, I did say snot. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
It's about the consistency of the white of a raw chicken egg,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Kind of gooey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gooey.
And slimy. See that?
There you go. That's
Isn't that
a
awesome?
perfect thing.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
the baba.
Yeah.
Right there. Now, that is super healthy.
That is super healthy for you.
Okay. So don't
Very
get
super
grossed
healthy.
out by that.
Yeah.
Celebrate it.
Yeah.
Here's one of the big ones. Okay. And so we're going to get a lot of meat out of this guy. And so off goes the edges. And if you get nopales that have been trimmed off the plant some time ago, even hours, sometimes I like to take even that off so that I don't have any of the old
The dry air.
scarred,
Yeah.
dried tissue there. But see how easily they come off, the thorns, and how much fun this is, because you start to develop a technique. It's good to have your sharpening stone, your whetting stone nearby so that you can occasionally sharpen your knife. And it does not have to be a super high-end knife, just something that has a good edge on it. And I put my gloved hand, my left hand holds it down, and that's easy for me. The real pros don't do don't do gloves at all, and they can do this in the air. And my favorite thing, I have to say, about the best authentic little Mexican markets that you see all over the different towns of Southern California is that you so often see somebody sitting out front, usually on a 5-gallon bucket turned upside down with a whole case of nopales, and they're peeling them so that they can sell them just like this. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what people nowadays want to buy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, people have lost their enthusiasm for doing what we're doing right now. Yeah. But we want to encourage you to get into the act of peeling or trimming the nopal. It's actually kind of fun.
And you know, Mike, one of the things I want to make note of is that even if you accidentally, let's say you didn't take all the little spines in there and they get in whatever, when you wet it and it's washed or soaked in water, they soften. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to get them in your food later, because that's a concern that people might have. They're going to get them in your tongue, whatever. But once they've been cooked, once they've been soaked for a while, they soften up, and they're not going to.
Right, but
they're going to pale you after that.
When you're washing them, you can find, oh, I missed one there. You can get your fingernail and get it off. You know, it's pretty basic. Okay, let's not make more out of this than we need to, right? It's so simple, and if you're doing it with 2 or 3 people, you can have a little competition. You can you can have on speed or on quality or both, or you just be talking about anything that comes up. So this activity, again, I love doing it in camp, and it produces a little bit of busy time and then produces a vegetable for dinner. So it's a really fun and easy way to pass the time. Don't shirk the responsibility of trimming your own nopales for your salad or for whatever it is that you're preparing. So we've done 5 or 6 here pretty quickly, and Abe is going to talk about his recipe for the salad. Oops. Sorry, they'll have to wait. But I want to get one thing, one more part of a little demonstration on the quick and easy way to eat nopales, especially in the summer when you have that barbecue cranked up, is to put them on the grill. Isn't that right?
That's a good way to put them, yeah.
It's actually one of the best ways for introduction to the world of nopales in your diet, because a lot of the baba, the slime that we talked about, will be sort of dried out in this process of cooking compared to boiling or using them even raw. You can eat them raw,
Yeah,
isn't
you
that
can
right?
eat them raw.
The tenderest ones can be eaten raw. So to build up to the raw and the boiled, you might start with barbecue. And the best way to do that is simply to have the pad and score it with your knife, put a little lemon juice on and some salt, right? Mm-hmm. You have salt?
Yeah, I have some salt.
Okay. So here's what I do to get this thing ready for barbecue. And it's a beautiful thing to see the nopales stretched out on the barbecue like green ribeye steaks. Yeah. All right. So what I do...
And I like that grilled idea too, because like I said, it's the mucilaginous that some people kind of don't really want to eat, and I think that's what's good. It's a good way, like you said, a good introduction.
Great introduction and super easy.
And to get people to like on how to eat them and develop a taste for their flavor, because their flavor is very unique.
Oh, it's so good. So I just take the tip of my knife and I make these little scores partway through the skin, and then I kind of cross-hatch that. You know, I'm just scoring in. I'm not cutting through. Just like this. Do you do this also?
I just kind of throw them on without scoring.
You just throw them on?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Well, here's a little bit of a treatment that I learned from somebody somewhere, I'm sure. And so along the way, we just score them and make this, open that up like this. And then you take a couple of lemons and you have them ready for your, this is to get ready to barbecue. That one's a little bit past its time. And this one, oh, that one's past too. Here. Okay, so we'll use a lime, Mexican lime, and we'll just squeeze that right on there. And on here like this. And you just put lots of juice on. And so you're marinating them, essentially. And throw some salt on. And you keep doing that with all of them, and you stack them up in a pan like this pan here.
Let them marinate
And
a
let
little
them
bit.
sit in there for a little while. The lemon or lime starts to do its thing, kind of cooking them, getting them ready. But you gotta love the baba.
Yeah.
Love the baba.
Yeah.
It is what makes the nopal the nopal.
Yeah.
See that?
And like I said, it's important. People, we need to have eaten things like this. I mean, because this is stuff that we're lacking in our diet, eating too much processed
Right.
foods.
But in the barbecue process, the baba is less, it's almost gone completely because it just dries up. But the nutritive values of the nopal are every bit as much there as you can imagine. So when I barbecue them, there's a couple little spines I missed, actually just the aerials. And when I barbecue them, Abe, I just put them over low heat and let them cook slow and just get a few little of those killer grill marks you're always looking for in the world of macho barbecue. And when they become super limp and obviously cooked, I mean, it's
and they turn a little color.
a little color and you got a little brown on them and you have some indication that they're fully cooked. You take them off, serve them to your friends and say, guess what that is? That's cactus.
Yeah.
And they'll say, we're eating cactus? And you'll say, just try it. And they'll say, wow, this is one of the best things I've ever
And they
had.
accompany steak, meat, beef, grilled beef.
Absolutely.
I like it eat that way. I like to cut a little piece, a little sliver, get my tortilla, put a little sliver of nopal in there, and a little piece of steak in there, carne asada, little salsa, perfect.
Okay, so we're going to have some brand new nopaleros in our midst when these viewers all say we're going to be faithful nopaleros, eaters of nopal. All right, so this is a little bit about harvest or gather, process, and a quick tip on preparation for
And I'm
barbecue.
going to eat this raw.
Look at him.
I'm gonna eat
Look at him go. Lemon and salt.
Oh, so good.
Doesn't get much better than that.
And it's so good because this is a new little tender one.
Okay, well, I'm going to try
A
that.
little tender one.
You're not going
Delicious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Oh, my God.
So Abe is going to continue here, right? Are you going to continue with us here and show us how to make a salad?
I'm going to show you how to make a nice little salad that I learned from my mother. And we have, that's in our cookbook.
Is it with raw
With,
nopales?
cooked nopales.
Cooked nopales, okay.
So I got some there, and I'm going to show you a very, very simple, very easy to do. Another good way to introduce nopal into your diet, especially now with the summer coming up, and now you eat this little salad chilled, delicious. So I'm going to demonstrate
so in
that.
a pinch, can a person buy these raw and ready to cook?
Yes, you can.
Where?
Most Mexican markets are going to have them. Again, seasonally, but they continue to pretty much have them all year long. This is
Okay,
if you
now-
don't have any in your yard.
Okay, in a tighter pinch, can a person find them in cans or jars?
Yes, you can. We are jarred all the time, all year long. You can get them.
You can get them. They're pickled,
You can get
or how are they?
They're pickled, not pickled. They're just like in salt,
just in
salt water.
They're just ready to eat. Okay.
Yeah. But if you have a big harvest, what I do, Mike, is I cut them, clean them up, whatever. I steam them a little bit, put them in Ziploc bags, and I freeze them.
Okay.
I don't do the whole jarring process, the whole thing, whatever. I just put them in a Ziploc bag, freeze them, keep them in there, and take them out when I need them.
All right, here we go. It's nopal time at Tree of Life Nursery. You know what? I know why the desert bighorn are so healthy. This is really
Delicious.
good. But they don't get lemon and salt, do they?
No.
The desert bighorn.
No.
No. And they have to deal with
They have to do
thorns.
Yeah, they eat the thorns.
So we're really living high on the hog here today.
yeah.
No thorns,
Very good.
salt and lemon, and raw nopal. Doesn't get much better than that.
Our intestines are just lubricated now. I mean, it's good for us. And that's actually, nopal is very high in calcium. For women, a very good food for women because it's high in calcium, for example. High in fiber,
Keep those bones healthy.
also high in fiber as well.
Okay. Well, Abe, I'm going to get this stuff cleaned up so that you can do continue
Demonstrate a
your
salad.
demonstration on your salad. But you know what? Look at the baba. You gotta love
Yeah,
the baba.
yeah. Okay, so what I've done here is I have now, those fresh nopales, what I did is I steamed them a little bit. Now let me give you a trick. So the babas, the slime that we're talking about, to kind of cut back, you can also get the peel of the tomatillo that you buy at the Mexican markets, the little tomatillo tomato looking thing. You get the peel of that, a handful of that, and you can, when you steam them, you can drop those peels in there, and that will also help cut some of the mucilaginous. You're going to still get to enjoy it, and it'll go in your body. I mean, you'll be able to eat it, but at least it's not going to be as present. So that's one little trick that I like to use now when I cook my nopales. So again, how long? Just a few minutes. I kind of get them just when they start boiling, and then I turn off the stove, leave the lid on, and then they'll just continue to cook, because you don't want to overcook them as well. So once I've done this, now what we're going to do is we're going to make our nopal salad. Excellent dish for the summer. All you need here, very simple, is basically your basic pico de gallo. So what I have here is I have my chopped onions, chopped tomato, I have chopped cilantro, and a little bit of serrano chilies. And that's up to you depending on what you want, on how spicy you want to make it. I have some beans, cooked beans, fresh if you want to make them without the juice, dry without the juice, or again, canned. If you want to take the easy way out, you can also get them canned. Either way is fine. But you want to drain them without any liquid. And here I also have some Mexican queso fresco, which is going to be our last ingredients. So now that I got my nopales in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out, and I'm going to add, oh, I forgot the lemon. So now I'm going to add my beans into this. I'm going to stir that around a little bit. So these are the harder little things, because the beans and the nopal, because you want to add the other stuff later. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to now add my tomato and onion. Drop that in there. And now I'm going to add my cilantro and chilies. You can add pickled chili jalapenos too, which give it a really good flavor as well. And if you do use a little pickled jalapenos, you can also put a little bit of the vinegar in there from the juice, or you can put the chopped pickled carrots. That also gives it a really good flavor. But what I'm doing here is I'm just using basically all raw ingredients. So I'm going to mix that up. See a nice rainbow color there, nice Mexican flag, red, white, and green. This is an excellent summer salad, because what you do after we make it, you're going to chill it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some queso fresco. Once I've stirred it around, let me do this first. I'm going to salt it. Put a little salt, depending on what you want. Remember, if your cans were beans, the beans are usually pretty salty when they're canned, so you want to be careful on the salt there. Now, what I'm going to do is I have some lime or lemon, either one works, and I'm going to squeeze my lime juice in there. This is the last thing I want to put. You don't want to put this, I like to put this before I put it in the refrigerator, because what happens if you put it in after it chills, it'll start softening the tomato. The lime will start cooking this. So you want to just put it last. You can also put the lime before you serve it if you want. If you want your vegetables to stay pretty, stay nice and crisp. I'm putting in now. Squeeze the lime juice in there. And that's up to you on how much you want to put. But again, the recipe is in our book. I like a lot of lime in it myself. So squeeze that up. I'll put this lemon. This is local ranch lemons here from Tree of Life. So I'm going to use that. Like I said, it's up to you on how much citrus you want to add. You can also add grapefruit. If you don't have lemon, you can add orange. It's fine either way. As long as you have some citrusy sort of, stir that around a little bit. Then I'm going to get my piece of cheese. Now that it's done, I'm going to get my piece of cheese. Now I'm just going to crumble this up on the top. This is actually, this is a meal by itself. It doesn't need to, need not to accompany it with anything else. You got your protein in here, you got your vegetables, you got your, so it's, again, pretty low calorie. If you even want to keep it lower calorie, you don't have to put the cheese in. That's up to you. Cheese is optional, but the cheese does give it a really good little flavor on the top. Now that I've done this, what I'll do is I will now stick it in the refrigerator, chill it for a few hours, and then served. It accompanies your, like any salad. I mean, a nice steak, like any summer dish that you would want to do, or again, any time of the year would be there. And that is our cactus and bean salad. Recipe is in our book. This is our book. So the recipe is in our Chick-fil-A Collective book. All self-explanatory there. Okay. What do you think?
I think it's good. A little more salt, or how
let me taste it.
Yeah, there you go.
Should I want to talk, you know what, let me add a little bit about.
I'm still filming.
Okay.
Go for it.
One of the things I want to cover, wait.
Okay. Here, let me.
One important thing I want to cover about nopal is that nopal is a food of the future. We have to start looking into things that are going to be able to keep us fed. It's a plant that doesn't take a lot of water, actually very little water, and grows in poor soil. It's a super nutritionist food source. Well, we're just trying to get people, and why we come up with these salads and so forth, is to try to get people to get used to and accustomed to this flavor and how you're going to add it. There's many, many recipes on how to use nopal. I mean, in today's world, you can Google, and there's all kinds of recipes, but it's just getting people to learn how to like this food. And I think it's something that we need to really be concerned about for our future, is, what are we going to feed our people in this world? And this, again, is something that does not destroy the world. You don't need to fertilize it. There's all these benefits of it. It's good, and it's been proven over and over that cactus is good. People have used it for weight loss, for diabetics. I've had people come up to me and tell me that they have neutralized their blood sugar as a diabetic by eating cactus. Again, it's managing. I'm not a physician, but that's something that you might want to look at talk to a physician about. But eating it on a daily basis and learning to adapt it into your diet would be something that you'd have to work with your doctor on that, on how you want to figure that out, or again, research on that with maybe an herbalist or wherever you may want to. But I really like the fact, and that's Chick-fil-A, we really push this as a fact, as a future food source that our world needs to be concerned about, and learning on how we're going to be able to consume this food and get people to like it. Okay.
Smile.
Okay, so now I'm going to taste it, right? So here I'm going to do a little taste. I'm going to use the old-fashioned hand. So you see I got my little cheese and little beans in there. Again, a pretty good protein. Very delicious on tostadas. Or, if you don't want to serve it in a salad, you can also have it as a dip. Like the salsa dip, you can also serve it that way with chips. So people can eat it that way. I mean, it's sky's the limit, however you want to be able to serve this stuff. But this is, again, a nice food, healthy food, something that we are encouraging people to use today. Okay?
it's me, Emily from Tree of Life Nursery. One of my passions here at the nursery is to cook with all of the plants that I plant in my garden. One of my own and my friends' favorite dishes that I like to make is a woolly blue curl cake, so I'm here today to show you how it's done.
So I always begin with bringing out all of my ingredients. Usually with cakes, a trick to get them light and fluffy is to have everything at room temperature. Unless you want a dense cake, then using slightly cold or warm ingredients will make it heavier. Next, you will want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. I usually prepare the milk for this recipe ahead of time, but you can prepare it while you get everything else together. Just know that you will have to let the milk cool completely before using it. To begin, you will want to simmer some chopped woolly blue curl leaves and flowers in the milk and cream for 20 minutes. Then I let it sit and cool there to really capture that flavor. In a medium bowl, combine the egg whites, vanilla, and set that aside for later. Then next, we're going to combine our dry ingredients, our flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt. And I like to spin this for about 30 seconds with an electric mixer. Then I will add my room temperature or slightly melted butter because I'm a little impatient, and I'll mix that on low until it's just combined. Then I'll strain the chopped bits of woolly blue curl from the milk and add the milk to the mixture and mix it all together. Then I increase the speed and mix for about 1 to 2 minutes until the mixture becomes light and fluffy. Then I'll add the egg mixture and beat until it's combined. Then you can place the batter into a buttered or spray pan of your choice. I like to flour it a little bit. It definitely helps the cake come out a little bit easier. And then I like to bake them in smaller tins like cupcake tins or these cute little mini bundt cake tins that we have at home for about 20 minutes or until the toothpick comes out clean. You can of course use larger pans or cupcake tins or whatever you would like. Just make sure that you keep an eye on it because the times will decrease or increase depending on if you use a glass tin or a metal tin or how big the cake pan is. Then on to the best part. To make the frosting, you will do the same thing with the heavy cream by putting it into the pan and simmering it with the chopped woolly blue curls for about 20 minutes and letting that cool. Then I'd like to beat the butter until it's creamy and light colored and add powdered sugar very slowly. I've made the mistake of creating a Christmas miracle in my kitchen when you pour it all in at once. Then I like to mix the cream and vanilla. Sometimes I like to use vanilla beans if I'm being fancy, until you get the consistency that you like. I like to have a firmer icing so you can decorate more easily, or you can add more milk and make it more like a glaze, and if you have cupcakes, you can dip those in like a donut. When icing the cake, top it off with some woolly blue curl or sage flowers and sprinkle a little bit of sea salt on top to make those flavors really pop. Personally, my favorite is the sage. It's a really good complement to the sweet of the woolly blue curls. I obviously forgot to do this in this video, but making it fancy is more fun in the future. And there you have it, folks. That's woolly blue cakes. And this is Emily signing off. I hope this inspired you all to get more connected with your garden and what plants grow here in Southern California, and hopefully inspire you to use them more in your everyday lives and your cooking, because it's really a sustainable choice, and it's also a very delicious one. So I hope you enjoy this cake, and I hope that you use more plants in the future. Have a wonderful day.
All right, good afternoon. Welcome back to Tree of Life Nursery, this time in lieu of our annual Customer Appreciation Barbecue, which we're unable to do because of the COVID-19 rules and the physical separation we have to endure. We are barbecuing online, as it were, with real coals and real nopales, prepared, as you've already seen, with the marinade of salt and lemon juice, each pad slightly scored, and then in their own slime, which we call la baba. And we said earlier, celebrate la baba, enjoy it, it's super healthy for you. I've got a Santa Maria style grill here. We've got an oak fire, don't need much here. These cook quickly. There's the grill. It's hot, piping hot. Don't forget the rules. We're on a piping hot grill because we want those killer grill marks, even on nopales. I believe that these green steaks, as it were, offer real vegetarians an opportunity to experience barbecue in a way that they may have been missing until now. So in addition to the nutrition and flavor and overall goodness of nopales, they will help satisfy that urge toward machismo that meat eaters get when they stand around a barbecue and vegetarians have been lacking for so long. So this is for you vegetarians. Enjoy barbecue as it should be with nopales on the grill. I'm going to crank this back down and put those a little closer to the actual coals. I've got a little oak fire burning in here. If the fire were bigger, I'd be more confident to pour this juice on. I don't want to extinguish the coals. I'll put a little bit on here just to soak it in to the nopales that are here. And while we're doing this, you guys know the 8-second rule? The 8-second rule for knowing when the grill is ready for your nopales. If you can hold your hand over at 8 inches above the grill for 8 seconds, it's not too hot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's about right. I think where I had it lower, it would have been too hot. But this first round, we can do this. We want those killer grill marks. So here we have the beginnings. It goes fast.
How fast is it, Mike?
Well, I'd say about 10 minutes total. We're almost there ready to flip, and we've only been yapping for about 3 or 4 minutes. So I like to leave them on this first time because you want to show that they're cooked with the little brown. See how pretty that's becoming? Isn't that nice? So this is a very easy way to cook nopales. It can be done also in water, like a stew, like vegetables, and we already discussed eating them raw. But it's a great addition to a traditional barbecue where you are cooking meat. Just come in at the very end, at the very end, and put the nopales on the grill and astound your neighbors. Tell them, that meat looks a little green. All right, we're going to turn them because we've got some very expensive film in the camera here and get this show on the road. You see how pretty they are? All we're doing is making the raw pad tender, just like cooking, barbecuing any vegetable. But it makes for a really nice taco, side dish, relish. Throw some salsa on it. It's already got salt and lemon. It's a little bit like ceviche too. The lemon and salt, if you put it on early enough, actually start to cook it in its own way. So I wish you were here, ladies and gentlemen, to try these with us this afternoon, because we're going to put these right in between like a rolled corn tortilla, put some $1 hot sauce on, and you've got tacos nopales. All right, so I think we're just about there with these nopales. They're getting really floppy, you know. There's no stiffness left in this prickly pear pad. And look at those beautiful colors. I think the coals have to be not too hot, you know. You want to just, like with everything, take your time. Thanks for joining us. We've learned a little bit about nopales. We've learned about other native plants that can be used in food and drink, and we're enjoying it all along. We hope you have enjoyed it. And please visit us as soon as you can, and as often as you can. We miss you, and we hope you miss us, but we'll get together as soon as possible. Thanks again.